Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Karen Eshu, the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, family, friends, and the members of the class of 2019. It is a real honor to be here, an alumnus from the class of 2004. As part of a speech that I was honored to give during 2004 commencement, I remember asking all of my fellow classmates to stand and applaud for our loved ones without whom we would not have been able to be there on that special day. So class of 2019, I'm going to ask you to stand and do the same. Let's hear it for the friends, family, and loved ones who helped you reach this tremendous goal today. Thank you. When I was asked to speak at this year's commencement, I was both honored and, to be honest, at a loss for words. The honor comes from distinctly, vividly remembering sitting in these places here 15 years ago, full of excitement, anticipation, and gratitude for the finish line of high school. And I'm also super humbled to think about all that has happened since. And at a loss for words, because I'm an eternal learner, I asked myself, what could I share with you all here today? You've heard a bit of my bio, but there is so much more to my story. Looking back over the last 15 years, there is no single story that captures what has shaped me and what has shaped my path. It would be inaccurate, incomplete, and even dishonest to try to sum up who I am with any one personal story. So I won't try, and I know that many of you will even agree with the incredible Nigerian author, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who talked about the danger of a single story in her powerful 2009 TED Talk. According to Chimamanda, let us avoid the single story of any person or place that then becomes the only story. My journey has had its fair share of ups and downs, twists and curves, but standing with you all here today, I can truthfully say that what has been most important to me has been rooting myself in my personal identity. This is not about ego. This is not about selfishness. And can I be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the big existential philosophical questions, so I'm not going to go in that direction either. But what I'm referring to when I say rooting myself is, in speaking as plainly as I can, what has defined me? What matters to me, and why? Let me ask the members of the class of 2019, by a show of hands, during the past month, how many of you have been asked where you're going to college? Keep your hands up. How many of you have been asked, what will your major be? What about what is most important to you? What about what brings you joy? Thank you. The fact that their hands started to go down is not a surprise to me. That was my experience as well 15 years ago, and to be very honest, in most cases and in most scenarios, that's still the case. Since graduating from King in 2004, I am struck by how often I get asked questions about what, where, why, sometimes how much. But what I am rarely asked are questions about who I am as a person and what I care about most. Yet questions about my personal identity have pushed me the most and have afforded me the greatest opportunities to stand for something. It has been the foundation on which I have built my career, my passion, and my purpose. Some of what I have learned since high school, during college, graduate school, and during my career so far, is that to delve into personal identity, it can get pretty messy. So much of our identity, or even our attempts to uncover more about who we truly are, those desires and those attempts are often pushed aside to conform to a standard that remains unquestioned. The status quo is actually what remains with that lack of questioning. And so I am currently co-founder and CEO of an organization called Anseye for Ayiti, which focuses on equipping a new generation of civic leaders in my native Haiti to prioritize questioning. We question the status quo every single day. Our collective push is to make sure education equity becomes a reality and leads to the liberation of all of our people. Ultimately, the success of the Anseye pour Ayiti movement is rooted in the who question. Every day, we're asking, who am I, who are you, and who are we together? We now work with 215 teacher leaders across 65 rural partner schools and reach over 7,000 students every day. And it's because we have prioritized the power of identity as well as academic excellence that we have seen incredible student achievement gains. From a rural community average of 30% of students, we now have our students passing at 85% on time and on grade level. Our students are equipped to know who they are, where they come from, and to be proud of it. We believe that those who know themselves and have themselves experienced inequity and injustice are the ones best positioned to lead the fight to dismantle it, because they are the solution bearers. So I turn to you, 2019 grads. In thinking about who you are, I hope who you are become the roots of your tree, the roots of your personal tree. You will add thickness to your trunk. That's what builds your character over time. Stick with me here, all right? You're gonna add the limbs, the branches, the leaves over time with every experience, position, title, every success, every failure. But the roots, they gotta be planted deep. They're the ones that will sustain you. My roots were planted by my father, Wetnick, and my mother, Ghislaine, nurtured by my family members, and further enriched by some incredible teachers who inspired my lifelong path as a teacher and as an educator. While teachers contributed to some transformative experiences, those are the limbs and the leaves I was referring to, what I want to share with you today is that many of those incredible teachers push me to be true to my roots. They are teachers like Juliette Salomon, my 4th grade teacher, whose pride in her Haitian identity served as a model for me. She carried her identity in her speech, her behavior, her jokes, and in encouraging every single student to always reach higher. There are teachers like Mr. Brad Wallace, my 7th grade math teacher, who recognized my thirst for learning and built up my confidence. And there are teachers like King's very own Mr. Christos Galanopoulos, who taught me that there was a reason why my identity was so wrapped up in my love of history, why I was so drawn to learning about the everyday people of historical social movements. Because I believed then, and I still do today, that to know myself means knowing where I come from and knowing who my ancestors are. So being rooted in one's identity frees us up to think differently, to lead differently, to orient ourselves towards how we fit into this world and how we can choose to positively contribute to society as active citizens. So what I wanted to close with is what I have learned based on rooting myself in who I am. It's helped me understand 3 principles that I'd like to share with the class of 2019. So first, I've realized that history is today. I'll say that again. History is today. Whether it's our education system, climate change, or how food systems feed entire populations or not, there is history embedded in every single aspect of our lives on a daily basis. So while you're learning about your own personal histories, let's also encourage each other to dig deep into the systems that we may be taking for granted as ready-made or ready-set. As a social justice activist, I have learned it is impossible to participate in dismantling the systems of education and justice without first recognizing how those systems came to be in the first place. Let's push ourselves beyond the most well-known texts, beyond social media snapshots, or what's being peddled as popular opinion, and really unearth the messy, complex factors that have contributed to today's social constructs. Just as importantly, grads, know that how you express yourselves in person, online, on social media, all of that either reflects, perpetuates, or shifts social constructs. Let's be aware of the role that we each play in shaping the world around us going forward. Secondly, I've learned to constantly ask, who am I in relation to others? Who are you in relation to others? I am not encouraging an approach to personal identity that promotes solitude. On the contrary, human beings are social beings for a reason, but not social beings in the way that Facebook has defined friendship or based on the number of Instagram likes that you got on your posts. When I refer to knowing who you are in relation to others, I mean taking the time for dialogue, for relationships, and for listening. It would be so much easier to find shortcuts because relationship building, it's difficult. To really listen, not to hear, but to really listen is difficult. But respect and love, what our world needs so desperately right now, are rooted in relationship building. Citizenship, it's rooted in relationship building. Many are surprised to learn that I actually took about 4 years to literally listen to hundreds of community members in rural Haiti well before I realized what our organization and what our movement could become. And that was the best 4-year decision I have ever made because it is the foundation on which the impact and the success of our movement now sits. So I encourage every grad from the class of 2019 to sit and have a meal with someone new as often as you can, to participate in conversations that push you outside of your comfort zone. These experiences will challenge you, but trust that they will also deepen your roots and open your perspective. These experiences will help build the relationships that facilitate community. Third and last, I've learned that collective leadership creates social impact. Know who you are, then know how you relate to others, and then build shared vision as a collective. I am so struck by how often we overlook the mobilization of hundreds and thousands of people when referring to the stories of successful social movements. We refer to the power, and rightly so, of Martin Luther King Jr., Susan B. Anthony, Toussaint Louverture, Nelson Mandela. But we must not forget the complex, diverse, and sometimes hidden teamwork that it takes to make social movements take hold. Because true systemic change requires collective leadership. It's tempting to think that we can go at this alone. I'll just add a couple more hours to my study. I'll add a couple more hours to my work day. I'll think about these strategic ideas on my own because my team members are driving me crazy. I'll publicize all of my amazing skills as often as I can. But relationships are important because they don't only sustain us, they propel real and lasting social impact. As the American anthropologist Margaret Mead tells us, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Said another way by a popular African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I encourage the class of 2019 to be the ones who go far by modeling collective leadership, knowing yourself well enough that you can positively contribute to a shared vision. And I'll add one more tidbit, one more suggestion. Let's build together from an asset-based approach rather than from deficits. The world tells us what is broken, what needs to be fixed again and again. But let's instead recognize the beautiful assets that exist all around us and leverage them towards shared well-being. The next few months and years will probably fly by for you all. It's going to go by in a blur. It may not feel that way today, but trust me, they will. There's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of distractions. It's easy to get caught up. But please, take the time to know who you are, to know what matters to you, to know what brings you joy, and just as importantly, build your tribe and stand for something. If you were to ask me today, who am I? I'd answer, I am a proud daughter of Haiti. I am an educator. I stand for justice. Who are you? Congratulations and best of luck to the class of 2019.